Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 14th Feb today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give you the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we will try to discuss three types of questions which would be taken from three different sources. In the first type of questions which we will discuss here, these questions would be taken from the current affairs. What we are going to do here, we will take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We'll try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we'll try to derive the possible prelims questions from those particular articles so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for your preparation, what should be your approach when you are reading those news articles, and how you can expect a possible prelims question from these particular articles. So this is what we are going to do in the first part of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the second part. Here we will discuss questions from the static topics. Currently we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity we have reached till the office of the president. So today we are going to discuss some financial powers of the president, which would be the last topic from the office of the president, and we'll derive a possible prelims question from that particular part, and it will give you the idea how the question can be asked in the exam with respect to these topics. After solving questions with respect to current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion, previous year questions. To me this is the most important part, because in here we will learn what is the vocabulary which UPSC uses, which UPSC examiner uses when they are framing your papers, what are the different trends they follow, and we will also learn what can be the different methods by which we can solve the questions in the exam. Suppose if we don't know of which we don't have the proper knowledge, I'm here talking about the elimination methods. We will learn them here, and also we will try to learn how we can implement this knowledge which we get from this discussion in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now before we will start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative, and also please do write in the comments what do you feel about this video. Now without any delay, let's have a look at the first question. As you can see here on the screen, the question is basically about article 224A. So why we had brought this question here? Because there was a discussion in the newspaper which basically talked about, is appointing the ad hoc judges a viable means to reduce the backlogs. In our judiciary, one thing which is very much important for us to understand is the appointment of judges. And unfortunately in our judicial system, whether it would be at the higher courts like Supreme Court, or the high courts, or the lower courts, the judges, the range which is kept for the judges to be appointed in the Supreme Court and the High Court, hardly that range has been filled. And also one thing we have to note here, that the judges which are available for every Supreme Court in our country, for every 10 million people, for every 1 million people, how many judges are available? Only 15 judges are available. And if we look what does the law commission, what are the recommendations of the law commission? Law commission recommendations say that it should be 50 judges per every 10 million. So what do we lack here? We lack judges in our country. And also the range which is kept for the Supreme Court or high courts, that is also very low. The range which has been kept by the law commission, even by the law commission, that is also very low. Because of this, because of less judges in our country, because of these vacancies, because of the vacancies in the courts, what it leads to backlog of the cases. So this is the discussion of today's newspaper. This is what today's newspaper had focused on. Because of the backlogs, because of the not availability of the judges, there are huge backlogs, and what can be the answers for the how it can be handled. So one of the way in which we can handle these backlogs, we can handle these lack of appointments in the Supreme Courts or in the lower courts or higher courts, that is by appointing ad hoc judges. By appointing ad hoc judges, this is one of the way by which we can reduce this backlog. So here it comes the discussion of ad hoc judges, and it is under article 224A. Under these ad hoc judges, what you should know that under these ad hoc judges, you should know that they are the retired judges of the High Court or the Supreme Court. They are the retired judges of the High Court and Supreme Court. They are appointed by the CJ, Chief Justice for the High Courts. They are appointed by Chief Justice, by consulting the President as well as by consulting the particular person whom they are appointing. So about one thing more about ad hoc judges here, you need to know that they are not deemed to be high court judges, so their powers are different, and other judges which are in the race, which are in line to get promoted, the appointment of these ad hoc judges does not impact their race, does not impact their hierarchy. So this is what you need to know about ad hoc judges. Now here in this article which was in the newspaper, it even talked about the one of the reasons why there is huge backlog in the judiciary, why there are so many cases left in our courts. One reason is that there is unavailability of the judges, and how it can be tackled. One of the way to tackle it is by introducing Article 224A, in which we can introduce ad hoc judges for the high courts. And the other reasons which are highlighted by the author here, that why there are so many backlogs there, this cannot be the sole reason. Unavailability of the judges can't be the sole reason for so much backlogs in the courts. So there are definitely other reasons too. What are those reasons? Second reason which is highlighted by the author is lack of supporting infrastructure. Courts are not that well developed, there are not that much rooms available where cases can be taken on. Then the third thing which the author has highlighted is procedural delays. There are procedural delays. Lawyers, they are often asking for the adjournments. They are asking for different dates when they feel that they cannot win the case easily, so they often manipulate the courts to extend the dates. Because of these extensions, there are huge delays, there are huge backlogs, and also there are delays due to law enforcement. For example, police, they have to collect the evidence, and for that they will ask the judiciary that they should be granted much time to collect these witnesses. So this is also one of the reason there is huge backlogs. And also the one another reason for these increased backlogs is increased awareness of legal rights. When the people had got aware about their legal rights, they are now very much aware of what they can do. They can go to the court to sue anybody, and you would have heard about the public interest litigations, and they had become very much famous since last decade or two. So these are the collection of things which had led to the huge burden on the courts, and the one thing which is leading it is unavailability of the judges. And to solve that to solve this problem, unavailability of the judges, there is definitely the need of the amendments which will bring more judges into the Supreme Court and High Court. And also these ad hoc judges can play the huge role in reducing this burden. So with respect to this question, why we brought this question, I hope you had got the understanding why we brought it. Because there was discussion about the ad hoc judges. Is it important? Can they play a role? Can they be the viable means to reduce the backlogs? Yes, they can be the viable reasons, but they can't be the sole reasons to reduce the backlogs. And also why we are discussing it, because with respect to these ad hoc judges, one thing you should understand that there was a case, Lok Prakash case. Under this, the Supreme Court has put some guidelines. What were those guidelines? That ad hoc judges can only be appointed if the vacancy is more than 20% in the high courts. If the vacancy is more than 20% in the high courts, if there are not what is the required number of judges in the high court, if there are vacancies and the vacancies exceed more than 20%, then only these ad hoc judges can be appointed. But recently Supreme Court has suspended this these guidelines. They had suspended these guidelines because of the burden of the cases in the high courts. So with this, let's try to solve the question and get more idea about the ad hoc judges through this question. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding Article 224A of the Indian Constitution. First statement, it deals with the appointment of additional judges to a high court. No, it is not that. It is basically, this is under Article 224. here the question is talking about 224A. It talks about the retired judges, even though they are additional judges but retired judges. Here this statement becomes incomplete and incorrect. Second statement, it empowers the president to appoint retired judges of the Supreme Court or High Court to sit and act as a judge of a High Court. 100% correct. Third statement, the appointment of a retired judge under the article can be for a temporary period. 100%, it is only for the temporary period. Fourth statement, the retired judge appointed under this article is entitled to allowances as determined by the president. 100% correct. His allowances are determined by the president, not by the constitution. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Correct statements are statement 2, statement 3 and statement 4, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option D. With this, I hope you had understood the question as well as the background of this question. With this, let's move to the another question and see what we had brought there. As here you can see, the question is basically about the president's rule in a state. Why we are discussing this question? Because of the crisis in the Manipur. Crisis in the Manipur since last 2 years, and there was huge political crisis, and recently this Manipur CM, he resigned, and now the president has ordered for the presidential rule in the state of Manipur. So with respect to presidential rule, we need to understand what are the reasons this presidential rule can be implemented. The working of the constitution was not very much clear there, definitely because of that. And also we have to understand here under which act does the presidential rule come in, under which act or article does the presidential rule come in with respect to the Indian constitution. So here you would have, we recently discussed it also. Recently we discussed about the presidential rule. Now let's recap it. Here article, you would have heard about article 356. This deals with the presidential rule. So what are the ways, under article 356, how the presidential rule can be invoked? First, if the constitution is not working there, that is the bodies which are governing, they are not following the constitution, and the governor will ask president to go for the presidential rule. Second, the council of ministers will ask him to go for the presidential rule. And third, the president will think that he would be satisfied that the constitution, working of the constitution is not followed there. He is satisfied about that, and he can take this suo moto action with respect to that. So this is important thing, how it is started. Now after it has been issued, after the presidential rule is issued by the president, then what will happen? Within 2 months, this should be, discussed, and it should be passed by the both houses of the parliament. Within 2 months it should be passed. Suppose if Lok Sabha is not there, the Rajya Sabha should pass it within 2 months, and once the Lok Sabha will come back, they should pass it. Third thing, does it lead to the automatic dissolution of the parliament? No, it does not lead to the automatic dissolution of the Lok Sabha, of the parliament. It does not lead to that, but it suspends the Lok Sabha. It suspends the Lok Sabha. So after this is passed, after this parliament, after the president, what he does, after this the presidential rule is passed, then what will happen? The national emergency is passed, then what will happen? It should be to keep it in check. After every 6 months, it would be passed again. After every 6 months, it would be passed again by the parliament. It will, presidential rule, it will last till 6 months, and it will be passed by parliament after every 6 months. After that, what is the lifetime for the presidential rule? Majorly the lifetime for it is 3 years. These are few important points which you need to know about the presidential rule, or we can say national emergency. So with respect to this, here with respect to this, according to 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, if presidential rule will go beyond 1 year, it should satisfy 2 things. What are the 2 things which it should satisfy to go beyond 1 year? Here you need to know that. First, there is national emergency. National emergency is there. Second, It should certify the election commission must certify why no elections are there in the particular state. The election commission should certify that why there are no elections in the particular state. So these are few important points which you need to know about the presidential rule. So with respect to this, having the knowledge of these points which we already had discussed in our earlier classes in a way better way, in here let's try to solve the question and get more idea about it. And before we will solve this question, I need to add one more thing here, that it is Manipur. It is a Manipur who had got maximum number, who has been under maximum, who had got maximum number of presidential rule, or we can say who has been under presidential rule huge number of times, maximum number of the times with respect to other Indian states. So with this, let's solve the question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding the imposition of presidential rule in a state under Article 356 of Indian Constitution. First statement, the governor of the state has the sole discretion to recommend the imposition of the presidential rule. Totally incorrect. He has not the sole discretion. President can take the suo motu, and also the council of ministers can recommend the president. So first statement is incorrect. Second statement, the proclamation imposing presidential rule must be approved by both houses of the parliament within 2 months of its issuance. 100% correct. Suppose if Lok Sabha is not there, then after 6 months, first Rajya Sabha will approve, then when Lok Sabha will be there, they will approve within 6 months, because within 6 months they have to meet again. Third statement, a proclamation imposing presidential rule can be revoked by the president at any time, even without parliamentary approval. 100% correct. He can revoke it any time without any parliamentary approval. Fourth statement, during presidential rule, the governor acts as a representative of the president and exercises the executive powers of the state. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Correct statements are statement 2, statement 3, and statement 4. And from the code given below, the correct code would be option C. With this, I hope you had understood basic idea about the presidential rule. What is the criteria? Constitution is not followed there. The working of the constitution is under doubt. President feels it so, or the election commission, or the council of ministers would recommend them, prime minister would recommend him to impose a presidential rule, or the governor will write to him. So these are the ways in which he can impose the presidential rule. And what are the different criteria? We had discussed them earlier, and also we had given few highlights here. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding, the important understanding which you should have with respect to this topic. Now let's move to the another question and see what we had brought there. Now with this, let's move to the another question. As here you can see on the screen, the question is with respect to UN Convention on the law of the non-navigational uses of international water courses. You may wonder why we had brought this question, even though India is not part of this convention. So why we had brought this question? The reason for that is the Yarlung Sangpo Dam, the dam constructed by the China on Brahmaputra, where Brahmaputra is Brahmaputra flows through this, and for China is the upper riparian state and India is the lower riparian state, and there are chances that China can misuse it against India, as there are these chances that China can misuse it against India. So with respect to this convention which we had brought here, UN Convention on Law of the Non-Navigational Uses of International Water Courses, it deals with such issues, but unfortunately neither India nor China is part of this convention. Why India is not part of this convention? Because mostly, I guess, because of the Indus waters, and China because of all these issues. So with this, I hope we had discussed already about the Yarlung Sangpo Dam, what can be the issues with it, how China can use it against India, how China is the upper riparian state and how it can misuse it against India, how it can impact the Arunachal Pradesh region, how it can impact the people living in these particular lower riparian states, and also how a kind of water war can be started by China here. So we had already understood that, but here let's try to understand this convention, through which we need to know more, which we would know about here we will know this through this question. Sorry. Here the question says, which of the following statements regarding the UN Convention on the Law of the Non-Navigational Uses of International Water Courses are correct? First statement, It establishes a framework for the equitable and reasonable utilization of international water courses. 100% correct. It establishes this framework. Second statement, it addresses the issues of pollution of international water courses but does not cover the allocation of water for different uses. It is totally in contradiction with the first statement. Even though the first part of this statement does not belong, has no connection with the first statement, but the second part of this statement is definitely in contradiction with the first statement, that as we saw here in the first statement, it establishes a framework for equitable and reasonable utilization of international water courses. In the second statement, it says water courses but does not cover the allocation of water for different uses. So it is very much in contradiction to that, and it is incorrect. It does cover that. Third statement, it emphasizes the principle of no harm to other riparian states, which are usually lower riparian states, but allows for some degree of harm if it is considered reasonable and equitable. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with the statement. Fourth statement, it has been ratified by majority of the member states of the United Nations. No, this is incorrect. It has not been ratified, and the reason for this is because of this scarcity of the water in the world. Only few percentage of the fresh water is available to the people. So that is the reason why they are not following this convention. Every country is selfish with respect to waters. So this is one of the reason. So with respect to this question, what can be the correct answer? The correct answer is option 1 and option 3 only, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option A. With this, I hope you had understood the question as well as the the context which I gave you earlier. So with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Here the question is with respect to North Kivu and Goma regions, because they are in the news because of the militia group, or we can say rebel group M23 there. And this M23 rebels, they are from Rwanda, but they are basically from Rwanda. Rebels, they are basically from Rwanda, but they are operating in this region, and they have, because of this M23 rebels, many people had died in these regions. So here we need to know where they belong to which country they belong to. Here the question says the recent attention to the North Kivu and Goma region. Goma region is primarily relates to ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis. 100% correct. These regions are located in which country? Republic of Congo? No. Democratic Republic of Congo? 100% correct. They belong to Democratic Republic of Congo. About M23 rebels, they are basically from Rwanda, but they play their role in the Democratic Republic of the Congo because of the tribal, or we can say ethnic conflicts between the two tribes there, which is Hutus and Tutsis. These are the two tribes in these particular countries, in Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. These two tribes are prevailing, and they have this ethnic conflict. And because of this, the M23 rebel group, which belongs to Rwanda, they had been associated. They are associated with the Democratic Republic of Congo and killing people there. So this is the knowledge which I believe you should know about. So with this, let's move to the another question and see what we have here. The question here is about the borders of the Myanmar. Why we had brought this question, because you would have heard about the free movement regime, which was earlier, when it was introduced, up to 14 kilometers between Myanmar and the borders, Indian borders, which border Myanmar, that up till 40 kilometers earlier, they can easily travel in each other's country and without any issue. Without visas were not required. Then it was reduced to 16 kilometers. Now it has been reduced to 10 kilometers. Why we are discussing this here? Because last year you would have heard about that, how the Home Ministry decided to fence this area, the states which are bordering the Myanmar, because of the insurgencies coming from there, because of the Myanmar being the part of the the narcotics triangle, being it part of this. So there are huge entry of narcotics through this region. So the Home Ministry decided to fence it. But what are the recent updates with respect to that? Still in 2025, as it is 15th March, 14th Feb today, this free movement regime is still there, but it is up to 10 kilometers only. So that's why we had brought this question here. Now here, how can you expect a question? You can expect a direct question on free movement regime, or you can expect a question with respect to what are the states which are bordering Myanmar. So here we will understand what are these states. As here you can see, which of the following Indian states share a border with Myanmar? First, it is Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is here, 100% it shares border with Myanmar. Second, it talks about the Nagaland, 100% it also shares border with Myanmar. Third, it talks about Manipur, 100% it shares border with Myanmar. Fourth, it talks about Mizoram, 100% it shares border with Myanmar. Now, does Tripura share border with Myanmar? No. Does Assam share border with Myanmar? No. Does Meghalaya share border with Myanmar? No. So, what are the states which share border with Myanmar? Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. So, with this, I hope you had understood this discussion. With this, we had completed questions with respect to current affairs. Now, let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve a few previous year. First we will solve a static topic question, then we will go to the previous year question. Here the static question which we had taken here is from Indian polity, as you know, and we are discussing the office of the president. We had discussed various powers of the president, whether it would be legislative powers, executive powers, mercy powers, pardon powers, whatever we had discussed. We had discussed in which way the elections would be there with respect to president, what would be the electoral college, how would be the disputes with respect to elections settled. We had discussed every aspect related to the president with respect to Indian constitution. But one thing which we had not discussed yet is the financial powers. And these financial powers of the president we will understand through this question. Let us see what does the question say. The question says here, which of the following statements with respect to the financial powers of the president are correct? First statement, no money bill can be introduced in the parliament without the recommendation of the president. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with the statement. So whenever parliament has to bring in a money bill, to bring in the money bill in the parliament, what they need, the prior requirement for that is they have to get the recommendation of the president. So the first statement, the prior recommendation of the president is needed for that. So first statement is 100% correct. Second statement, the President of India is responsible for the presentation of annual financial statement, that is budget. 100% correct. It is President who is responsible for the presentation of annual financial statement, and it is the finance minister who finally presents it. But it is the President who is responsible for that. So second statement is also correct with respect to financial powers of the President. Third statement, which says financial bills require the prior recommendation of the president. 100% correct. With respect to money bill, we saw with respect to financial bills also there is a need for the prior recommendation of the president. Fourth statement, president causes the reports of the financial commission to be tabled in the parliament. The reports of the financial commission, they are it is president who causes the reports of the financial commission to be tabled in the parliament. This is also correct. So with respect to this question, all the four statements are correct. So these are few financial powers of the president which he enjoys. Please do remember them. A question about these powers can be asked in the exam. With this, I hope you had understood the question and also some of the financial powers of the president. With this, let's move to the last part of our discussion where we will solve a previous year question. Here, as you know, currently we are discussing questions with respect to physical geography, and we are very much about to complete it. This question which we have to discuss today, it was asked in 2013. So let us see what was the question. The question says the most important fishing grounds, it is actually fishing here, I had forgot to mention S. Fishing grounds of the world are found in regions where, and here the question says the most important fishing grounds of the world are found in the regions where. What are the reasons? First, warm and cold atmospheric currents meet. No, nothing wrong to do with the atmospheric currents, warm or cold atmospheric currents. So first statement is correct. Second statement, river drains out large amount of fresh water into the sea. No. Fourth statement, continental shelf is undulating. No. Third statement, warm and cold oceanic currents meet. 100% correct. Wherever the warm and cold ocean currents meet, that place is the best fishing ground of the world. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be option C. With this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you had understood every topic which I tried to explain you guys. If there is any topic or any confusion which is left, please do write in the comments. We'll try our best to clear that. And also here I would like to add one more thing. That is, you saw that how you saw the sources of our questions. They few were taken from current affairs, few were taken from the static part, and few are taken from the last previous year questions. So what does it show you guys? It shows that it has a huge importance if you can realize that. For example, if you are noting down these questions every day, suppose you are preparing for 2026, and you are noting down these questions every day, and you are noting it from the 1st January till we are doing it from way long now, and you had started doing this from the 1st January 2025 till April 2026. You would had many questions. You would have covered every question with respect to current affairs which could be asked in the exam. You would have questions with respect to the static part. You would have questions with previous year question analysis, how you could have solved the questions. So you would have everything with you. Now in the month of May, you would want to revise everything. You would want to revise current affairs, you would want to revise static part, you would want to revise the CSAT, but at that time does not permit you. What you can do, you can follow these questions, you can revise these questions. These questions would connect you with the current affairs, they will connect you with the static part, they will connect you with the previous year questions. They are going to boost your confidence, and trust me, they are from these questions, many questions can coincide in the exam. If not the questions, at least the statements can coincide. Suppose if not the statements either, trust me, these would be the concepts which we discuss here daily. These are the concepts which they are going to ask you in the exams. So it is better for you to be on the safer side, to note down these questions and develop your own question bank before the exam. With this, I would like to thank you guys for staying with me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and best of luck.